Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here with us today. I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Trent Haymore, who's an expert in personality disorders. A personality disorder is defined by the National Library of Medicine as a group of mental conditions in which the patient has a long-term pattern of behaviors, emotions, and thoughts that is very different from his or her cultural expectations. Trent Haymore today will be talking about 3 personality disorders. First off, he will start off with narcissistic personality disorder, then passive-aggressive disorder, and finally his favorite and personal expertise, schizophrenia. I'd like you to join me in welcoming Trent Haymore as our speaker.
Good morning or afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will be talking about the 3 personality disorders of narcissistic personality disorder, schizophrenia, and passive-aggressive disorder. I'm going to start out with the narcissistic disorder. Interestingly, there is a Greek myth that lends its name to this disorder. It's a story of Narcissus, who was so entranced with his own beauty that he sat and stared at himself in a lake until he died. Now, I know several of you probably could have this happen to you, but we'll get over that. We need to learn what is this narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissistic is a hard word to say, just let me say. How it affects a patient is that it gives them a false sense of themselves. They have a super high self-esteem. They think of themselves larger than they are. They think of themselves as kings almost. They look at themselves as people of extreme value and worth, even if they haven't accomplished anything in their life. It affects others even more severely, I would say. They're always looked down upon. They're always berated. Somebody with this disorder could just verbally abuse somebody because they feel that they're below them. And statistics show that it affects about 6.2% of the population today in America. Some of the symptoms, like I said earlier, is a huge sense of self-importance. They are often deep in thought, imagining lives of extravagance, of themselves as being the most beautiful that there is, of unlimited power, themselves being heroes in any kind of context. They definitely need admiration on a regular basis. If they don't get it, it hurts their very fragile sense of self-worth, because even though they put up a huge front, they often, inwards, have very low self-esteem, and they need this admiration to continue. They take advantage of others for their own personal gain. They see you as a pawn almost in their game of life. Anything that they can take from you to build themselves up, they will do in a heartbeat. You probably do not have any importance in their eyes. And lastly, they do not really have any sense of empathy. They can't relate well with struggles you're going through. It's all about them. How it's treated. It's often diagnosed by a trained mental health professional. Sadly, many with this disease don't actually seek out treatment. They think of themselves as too high for this. They don't need it because they're so extravagant and wonderful. What causes it? There is no known concrete cause that we can point to and say, this is what causes it. But we do know that many professionals theorize that it's a mixture of genetic, social, and psychological factors. Not usually in childhood, but it emerges generally in later adulthood. I do have a very good friend of mine who suffers from this disease, Isaac, and I want to show you a personal story about him and this debilitating disease. Thanks for watching that clip with us. We'll keep you updated on Isaac. We're hoping that he makes leaps and bounds in his treatment, but we're not entirely sure yet. The next disorder we'll be talking about is passive aggressiveness. You may have heard of this in some situations, but not exactly know what it is. It's a way in which one defies authority or even peers in a relationship. So, like a boss or a parent, even a spouse or someone you may be dating. It's a way to show defiance subtly without actually causing open conflict. In fact, for somebody suffering from this, open conflict is something that you would want to avoid at all cost. And so that's what we'll be diving into today. Some examples of what it is, how it happens, is intentional procrastination. You're going to show them by not getting it done in time, putting them under stress, putting them on the spot. Intentional inefficiency, this is similar. You don't do your job fully well. I've actually done this before. During football, I didn't want to snap the ball, so I would snap the ball very badly so they wouldn't actually make me do that anymore. It worked. Forgetfulness, silent treatment, just ways that don't, stir up big conflict, but you subtly get the message across. Some of the causes of this disorder is usually formed at a young age. Parents who are very controlling usually have this happen to their kids because the kids become experts in getting out of work and defying their parents in ways that they don't get in trouble. They excel at manipulating people and putting things off. And treatment options are rather limited because people that have this disorder don't think anything's wrong with them. They think that they pretty much know everything and that they explain their behavior away. One of the very first things that you need to do is within treatment in the first 1 or 2 months, you need to make sure they know that they're only hurting themselves, so they're not helping their situation any by doing this, and they're just holding themselves back. And so I actually have a friend who suffers from this, Isaac, and I've prepared a little clip of him going through this. So if you'd just like to play that real quick. Welcome back. Once again, it is a shame to see the condition of my friend, but we are working on him. We're hoping that he'll be closer to rehabilitation. But moving on, we're going to be talking about schizophrenia next, and this is more severe, more debilitating than the other two disorders. Schizophrenia, it affects the mind and really has more of a subtle kind of symptoms that you can't always see at first. A lot of the times they'll mainly be just to where the patient can sense the symptoms, even though they seem completely normal to him. For instance, they suffer from hallucinations, so things that aren't actually there. They hear, they see, they feel things that don't exist. That's not the only one. Like voices in their head, they will hear things. These voices will tell them to do certain things. They'll make them angry. Sometimes the voices will talk to each other. These hallucinations can create a false sense of, a false state of mind for them. And they also suffer from delusions, which are things that they hold true that obviously are not true. Even if they are proven wrong logically, they still hold on to these beliefs, such like the radio is listening to them and transmitting their thoughts to other people. It doesn't matter whether or not it's plausible. It's just something they hold. It's caused by a number of factors. Genetics. If you have a family member with this, you're more likely to get it. It affects around 1% of the population today. It's a mixture of mutations in the genetic code that limit the cognitive function And it's not just that, it's also paired together with environmental settings. If a disease or a virus is entered early on, this can affect the development. And treatments for this, since it is still, they don't have a concrete cause for this disorder, there's no solid treatment. Right now they're more focused on containing the symptoms. So the options you have are antipsychotic drugs prescribed by medical professionals and psychological professionals, and also group help, group therapy, and just ways to help them cope in their daily lives with this disorder. And I have a clip of a very good friend of mine, Isaac. He also suffers from schizophrenia, and so I would just like for you to watch this and see how he deals with it. Thanks for watching the clip with us. I'll keep you guys updated on how Isaac's doing. But this concludes our presentation day on disorders. I'm glad you guys could come out and make it. I'll see you later on. Hopefully not next year, because that would mean I failed. But it's been a pleasure.